Hello and welcome, dear listeners. This is the Business English Podcast, your go-to podcast for mastering the English language in the professional world. I'm your host, Rob, your friendly neighbourhood business English coach. And whether you're a non-native professional aiming to broaden your English skills, or an enthusiast seeking tips for better communication in a professional setting, this podcast is designed just for you. Today, we have a fascinating topic that I'm sure will resonate with many of you. We're talking about something we often find ourselves saying: I'm busy. Whether we're swamped with work or juggling multiple responsibilities, I'm busy is a phrase that tends to slip out without a second thought. But have you ever considered the impression it might leave? Does it always convey what you intend? And most importantly, are there better ways to express the same sentiment? In this episode, we're going to take a deep dive into these questions. We'll explore some of the more subtle and effective ways to express the fact that you have a lot on your plate, without defaulting to the tired and sometimes off-putting "I'm busy." Not only will these phrases elevate your communication skills, but they will also help you navigate those busy periods with grace and professionalism. Remember, communication in business isn't just about what you say, but how you say it. So join us as we uncover the power of thoughtful and effective communication in the world of business. But first, the warm-up act. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Business English Podcast, helping professionals communicate more effectively, more confidently, and with impact. With your host, Rob, from Energetic English. Let's get down to business. Right, let's dive right into today's topic. We've all used the phrase "I'm busy" at some point, haven't we? It's a convenient catch-all when swamped with work or find ourselves juggling multiple projects or responsibilities. However, using this phrase repeatedly can come off as dismissive or imply that we're too rushed to engage fully with the person we're speaking to. While that may not be our intention, it's important to be mindful of the impression our words might leave. So, why should we avoid using "I'm busy"? Well, for starters, it can seem like a conversation ender, a way of shutting someone down rather than expressing the reality of your workload. It can also come across as generic, lacking in detail, and might even make the other person feel like a burden or an interruption, which is rarely our intention in a professional setting. In business English, and indeed in many professional cultures worldwide, there's a strong emphasis on being diplomatic and tactful. It's about expressing your situation in a way that's respectful of the other person's time and request, while also standing up for your own capacity and workload. That's what today's topic is all about. It's worth mentioning, however, that every work culture and personal relationship has its nuances. While in some cases it may be perfectly acceptable to simply state you're busy, in others a more thoughtful response could make all the difference. That's why we're going to explore 14 alternative phrases to "I'm busy." Phrases that convey your availability or lack thereof in a more specific and considerate manner. Great, now that we've established why it might be beneficial to think twice before blurting out "I'm busy," let's get into our 14 alternatives. We've divided them into two categories: 7 formal phrases suitable for more official, hierarchical, or unfamiliar contexts, and 7 informal ones, perfect for peers, familiar colleagues, or more casual work environments. Firstly, the formal alternatives. Now, as ever on the Business English Podcast, I'll be repeating these phrases twice before pausing for you to repeat them, drill them, write them down, and work your magic. Here we go. 1. I'm currently tied up with another project. I'm currently tied up with another project. This indicates that you're occupied with a different task. For example, you might say, I appreciate your request, but I'm currently tied up with a different project. Could we perhaps discuss this next week? 2. I have a lot on my plate right now. I have a lot on my plate right now. This means that you have many responsibilities or tasks. An example might be, I have a lot on my plate right now, so I won't be able to assist you with this task. 3. My schedule is quite full at the moment. My schedule is quite full at the moment. This expresses that your current timetable is packed. For instance, I'm afraid my schedule is quite full at the moment. Would it be possible to schedule our meeting for next Tuesday instead? 4. I'm presently engaged in something else. I'm presently engaged in something else. This indicates that your attention is already committed. An example might be, I'm presently engaged in something else. Could we revisit this matter in our meeting tomorrow? 5. I have prior commitments. I have prior commitments. This tells the listener you've already made arrangements. For example, I'm sorry I can't attend the workshop as I have prior commitments. 6. I'm working under a deadline. I'm working under a deadline. This is another good one. It informs the person you're talking to that you have a fixed time by which you must complete your work. An example might be, I would love to help, but I'm working under a deadline. Can we address this issue once I've finished? 7. This isn't a good time for me. This isn't a good time for me. It states directly that the timing isn't suitable for you. For instance, this isn't a good time for me. Could we possibly reschedule our meeting? Now, before jumping into the next section, I wanted to take this opportunity to let you know that if you wanted to get more out of the Business English podcast, then that is possible. For example, full transcripts complete with timestamps so you never miss an expression, phrase-focused one-pagers to quickly refresh your memory before that next last-minute meeting, pronunciation support to assist with the trickier elements of business English, live read-along transcripts, quizzes, and much more. If this sounds like it could be useful, then the Business English Podcast Premium subscription could be for you. Check out the details at the link in the show notes. Right, on with the show. Now, let's transition into our informal alternatives. These expressions might be more suitable for less formal work environments or when interacting with colleagues with whom you have a more relaxed relationship. So, here are the 7 informal alternatives. 1. I'm currently juggling a few tasks. I'm currently juggling a few tasks. This suggests that you're handling multiple tasks at once. For example, I'm currently juggling a few tasks, so I won't be able to take anything else on today. 2. I'm in the middle of something right now. I'm in the middle of something right now. This means you're engaged in a task. An example might be, I'm in the middle of something right now. Can we chat about this after lunch? 3. I have a meeting at that time. I have a meeting at that time. This clearly indicates that you're scheduled for another engagement. For instance, I can't make it to that brainstorming session. I have another meeting at that time. 4. I'm working on something that needs my full attention. I'm working on something that needs my full attention. It tells your colleague that your current task requires focus. An example might be, I'm working on something that needs my full attention. Can we go over these reports later? 5. I have a project that's taking up most of my time. I have a project that's taking up most of my time. This suggests that a specific task is consuming your available time. For example, I have a project that's taking up most of my time, so I can't join the committee. 6. I'm not able to take on any more at the moment. I'm not able to take on any more at the moment. This is another handy phrase. It directly states that you can't handle additional tasks. An example might be, I'm not able to take on any more at the moment. Can this wait until next week? 7. I have other responsibilities that I need to focus on. I have other responsibilities that I need to focus on. It indicates that you have other tasks that require your attention. For instance, I have other responsibilities I need to focus on at the moment, otherwise I would. And that concludes the 7 informal alternatives to the dreaded phrase, I'm busy. Brilliant! So we've just covered 14 alternative phrases to I'm busy, 7 formal and 7 informal. Now we'll shift our focus to the delivery of these phrases. Remember, the way we say something can be just as important as what we're saying. So let's explore some tips to ensure your message comes across as intended. First, always consider your tone. Aim for a polite, respectful tone. Even if you're refusing a request or declining an invitation, doing so politely can help maintain good relationships. Practice saying these phrases with a calm and composed voice, not rushed or irritated. Next, focus on clarity. Make sure to articulate your words clearly. It's better to speak slowly and clearly than to rush and risk being misunderstood. Then, remember that body language speaks volumes. Maintain eye contact to show you're engaged in the conversation, even if you're unable to accommodate the other person's request. Also, avoid closed-off body language, like crossing your arms. It can unintentionally appear defensive. Always include an explanation if possible. This helps the other person understand your situation better. For example, instead of just saying, I'm currently tied up with another project, you could say, I'm currently tied up with another project that's due tomorrow. Could we discuss this the day after? Also be aware of cultural differences. If you're in an international setting, remember that expressions of busyness or unavailability can vary greatly across cultures. What might be viewed as assertive in one culture could come across as rude in another. And finally, offer an alternative when you can. If you're unable to fulfill a request or attend a meeting, suggest a different time or propose someone else who might be able to help. This shows that you're solution-oriented and considerate of the other person's needs. Keep these tips in mind when using our alternatives to I'm busy, and you'll be well on your way to communicating your availability more effectively and professionally. After all, great communication isn't just about mastering vocabulary. It's about delivering your message in a way that respects and acknowledges the other person. We have covered quite some ground today, it has to be said, so let's take a moment to recap what we've discussed. The phrase I'm busy, while a common and often automatic response, may not always convey what we intend. It can sound dismissive or generic, and may leave the listener feeling like they're a bit of a burden. To better communicate our availability in professional situations, we explored 14 alternative phrases. These are more specific, thoughtful, and respectful ways to express that we're currently occupied or unable to take on additional tasks. We also discussed the importance of tone, clarity, body language, explanations, cultural sensitivity, and offering alternatives when delivering these phrases. I encourage you to start incorporating these into your daily communication. As we've discussed today, effectively expressing our busyness is not only more considerate of the other person, but also leads to clearer communication and better professional relationships. So there we have it, 14 ways to avoid saying I'm busy in professional English. I hope you found these suggestions useful and that they inspire you to experiment with your own language use in the business world. I'm confident that these alternatives will help you express your workload more accurately and effectively. Remember, the goal is to communicate with respect and clarity, maintaining the fine balance between standing up for your capacity and being considerate of the other person's request. Don't forget you can interact with us via email or on our social media platforms. We would love to hear your thoughts on today's episode or any suggestions you have for future topics. Also, do share the podcast with colleagues and friends who might find it useful. And if you're enjoying the show, please consider leaving a review on the podcast platform of your choice. It really helps us out. Thank you so much for joining us today, and until next time, keep it strictly business. You have been listening to the Business English Podcast. Remember to subscribe leave a review, and we'll see you next time.